Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, first question. Hi Jason, what do you think about box jumps as a way to improve lower body strength and improve the squat? I heard about CNS potentiation, power training, etc., but never done them. Thanks. No, box jumps, jumping onto boxes, jumping off boxes, doing them in different methods, absolutely have their place in strength and conditioning. They have their place in training explosiveness. As far as real strength, though, no, you're not necessarily going to build a lot of strength doing box jumps unless you're a rank novice. And that's what people need to remember. If you're a rank novice and completely sedentary, even riding a bicycle will improve your squat, all right, for about 3 days, for about a week, maybe. And then it'll stop increasing it. The box jump, because you're not necessarily using that much resistance, and again, because of the dynamic nature of it, it's not going to make you a lot stronger. Again, and not really stronger at all once you have been training a little bit. However, in terms of just helping build explosiveness, which can carry over to certain aspects of what you're doing with it, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Can definitely benefit explosiveness. And if you're interested in incorporating into your training, just realize it's like adding any other exercise. You've got to work it into your training. You need to work it into whatever you're doing with your periodization, and maybe follow some well-written routines. Go look into some strength and conditioning coaches who program box jumps and use their templates to work with for advice. Don't just jump into it on your own randomly without knowing what you're doing, because it also does carry a degree of risk. All right, next question. Hi, what do you think about rack pull below the knee in general, and if it's carryover to the conventional deadlift? I'm doing rack pulls in my own gym equipment, and I never slam the barbell on the pins. I do this with perfect form and lowers the weight with control as much as I can. All right, no, below the knee rack pulls have their place. I have certain problems with them from an execution and a safety perspective. In terms of damaging equipment, and I don't think that they're essential to maximize strength. That's why I don't necessarily promote them. What I would recommend with your own equipment, I mean, I get it. If you're training at someone else's gym, you really just don't give a shit. But they can bend bars. They can bend bars. No matter what you do, they can damage racks no matter what you do. I mean, that's just the nature of it, no matter how much control you think you have. So what I would say to you, if you really want to do them in your home gym, get blocks to pull off of. Right? Because in general, you don't want to do a bunch of hitting pins. Right? You don't want to hit pins and stuff too much in a gym anyways, the metal on metal contact, even on your home gym. Setting aside the fact that it can damage your equipment, there's the fact that you're also banging against metal if you're not careful. Just get blocks. If you really want to do it, there's blocks made specifically for this. And the only problem I have with it too, as far as people programming them, people don't know, who aren't real lifters. They don't seem to understand what a below the knee rack pull is. I've literally watched guys at gyms put up footage, who are even other YouTubers, calling a below the knee rack pull, and it's literally at their patella. Right? That's not a below the knee rack pull. And then they'll say, well, that's the lowest position my rack has. So it's like, well, then don't do them, because you're not doing a below the knee rack pull. I mean, in case in point, if you're a 500-pound deadlifter and you can do 500 with the below the knee rack pull, you're not doing a below the knee rack pull. You shouldn't be able to quite pull your max. Most people's below the knee rack pull is slightly weaker than their max deadlift. Pretty normal. Because again, you're doing them to deal with a certain strength deficiency, as far as the speed that you're getting very early on in the movement. Very similar to like a floor press. Most people are slightly weaker on, even if they lose a couple inches. And because you're forced to use a lighter weight, there's a potential training effect there, right? That's what you're looking for. It can be easier to recover from if you can get a similar training stimulus with a lighter weight, for the same reason we do deficit deadlifts. That's all we're doing. All right, next question. What are your thoughts on Jeff Nippard saying he hopes to make 3 to 4 pounds of lean gains in the next few months on his new upper-lower split, even though he is an advanced lifter? Is he talking about going from a cut into a bulk? Right? Are we talking about going from a cut into a bulk? Because yes, that's possible. Because lean gains are not the same as muscle gains. Right? All lean tissue is lean gains. Water weight, transient storage factors connective tissue. That's all lean weight. And when you bulk, when you add calories, your lean weight goes up automatically. So depending on, is he talking about being at a given amount of calories, like being at maintenance or a small surplus, and then easing into, a slight weight gain of it being purely muscle or mostly muscle, that's different. But if he's talking about just straight up gaining as an advanced lifter without dramatically changing caloric intake, in other words, going from a deficit into a surplus to where you gain additional water and glycogen and stuff like that, then no, that's not going to happen. And if he puts on 4 pounds of lean muscle or lean gains as he's putting it in 3 months, then I think you can go ahead and call him on his gear use at that point. It would be totally reasonable to just say, bro, come on, don't claim natty and do shit like that. You're not a noob, right? Advanced lifters don't gain a pound of muscle per month without drugs. It doesn't happen. It does not happen. That's not reality. Like literally you get to a point to where for an advanced lifter, if you can gain 3 to 4 pounds of muscle in an entire year, that is considered to be phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. And like you have to generally be training your ass off to pull that off with really good programming. So there is that. So yeah, at that point, you just call him a fake natty and move on. All right, next question. Your thoughts on Luimarco saying the best workouts are push-pull legs and Smith squats and leg presses for the best growth in joint health. My thoughts on it? That's literally one of the most moronic things I've ever heard. That's my thoughts on it. I mean, joint health. I mean, how many people have damaged their knees on a leg press? What? I mean, done incorrectly, the leg press is an absolute knee destroyer. Smith machine squats. We run into the same thing. You run into problems of locking yourself into a bad pattern. No, absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. And I'm not saying these things don't even have their place. I'm not saying they're useless. Like, don't get me wrong there. But to claim that they have some sort of joint health benefit to being locked into a fixed plane of motion? I don't think so, no. Nuh-uh. In fact, usually big, heavy compound movements taken through the appropriate range of motion are generally the best for your joints. Right? We get the least joint compromise with the bigger movements in general. I don't know. I don't get that. And same thing with the push-pull legs. Like, it's just a choice of the way you split stuff up. I'm not particularly a fan. I mean, granted, there are people who get good results on it. I just wouldn't program that way. I just wouldn't. And I'm not saying it's terrible, but there are problems with it, and I just don't like it. But to say that something's the best, it is harder to program correctly. I don't know. I feel like it has a higher margin of error in some ways. To say it's the best, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Well, it's the best because a bunch of guys who look good use it. That doesn't make it the best. It's just popular. And if something is popular, more people with good genetics and more people abusing drugs are going to do it. Therefore, you're going to see more people with good results doing it. Purely because it's popular. That's it. All right, next question. What would be a good program to start off with to build strength and a little bit of muscle for someone who can only work out 2 to 3 days a week and who has been out of the gym for years? Well, isn't that what every novice program is? Right? TJ, you're a novice. You're a novice. I've had to do novice programming again after detraining. All right? I've done borderline novice programming again. What did you see me do? Even after I didn't get to train a lot for a while and then had other stuff going on, I actually did intermediate programming. Even though I had still been lifting, I had a bunch of life circumstances that really derailed my ability to train the way that I wanted to, or as much as I wanted to. I detrained quite a bit. And I came back and just did intermediate type programming. After I got sick and learned to walk again, I had to run normal novice type programming for a year. And that was after I learned the basic exercises again and was able to move and rehab my body and everything else. And I went into novice programming. So of course that's what you should do. You're a novice. Run a novice program. Most novice programs are 3 days a week. If you can only get to the gym 2 days a week, then space it out. In other words, if you're running an AB pattern novice program and you can only make it to the gym twice a week, then what do you need to do? Well, you do the AB and you just follow the same rotation, but at a slightly lower frequency, if that's all you can do at the gym. I have at least 3 novice programs that are 3 days a week free on this channel over in playlists, right? They're there. You could run starting strength, you could do strong lifts, you could do any of those also if you don't happen to like mine, but that's what you should do. That's my opinion. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.